Do the trashy pulp novels of the world have anything to offer? Are bestsellers all they're cracked up to be? Here at Terrible Book Club, we explore whether you really can judge a book by its cover, or its ridiculous synopsis. You ever passed a book and thought, ugh, who's reading this? We probably are.
Welcome to episode 59 of the Terrible Book Club. I'm Paris, and this is Chris.
Hi, Paris.
It's a stuffy Chris today.
It's a sick Chris. I have my backwards cap on and my sunglasses and I'm doing kick flips. And I'm also super snotty and my throat hurts.
Oh, no. So, we got to send you back to your home planet after this episode. It's too bad. So this time, we read I'm Living, But I'm Not Alive, Book 1 in the Black Caviar series by Psymon H.
Can you spell Psymon for me, please,
yes,
Paris?
Psymon. P-S-Y-M-O-N.
Oh, like a Pokemon, then.
Yeah, and his last name is just an initial, just H. It's not like I'm pronouncing something weird.
What do you think H stands for?
Something British as fuck. I don't know, like Harrington or something. Who knows?
Harry Potter. Simon Harry Potter.
Honestly, yeah.
But it's Harry Potter is like one word.
Harry Potter.
You know someone's going to change their name to that. Sometime.
Or like they spell it in a way where it looks like a real name, but then they say it and you're like, oh, you just messed with the word, with the fucking name Harry Potter. What a dick. Anyway, if this is your first time listening to the Terrible Book Club, what we do here is we read books that we assume will be bad based on their cover, title, summary, or some combination of the three. So we read books that we would never read under normal circumstances. We're kind of like an anti-book club. The book club antichrist is how I recently put it in an interview. So, usually this results in a hilariously disappointing read or just a disappointing read. But once in a while, we really like the book, and it turns out we're just the ones who are terrible. So it
didn't happen this time.
No. This episode's a little special. We were actually hoping it would be more special. We'll explain in a moment. But we became aware of this book and this series because the editor of the series posted about it in a Facebook group. That Facebook group is called Men Failing at Erotica. I think the title is a bit inaccurate because things get posted by writers of, all sorts of gender identities. It's not just men. I think it started out that way, and then we've now, everyone understands that everyone can suck at writing erotica.
They needed more content, and they were like, you know what, let's just open the floodgates. Everyone's capable of writing some trash for erotica.
Oh, well, it's true. I kind of wish they would change the name of the group, but it doesn't matter. But anyway, it was the silly group that my friend Laura, I think, invited me and Chris to long ago. And so
they didn't let me in.
Why didn't they let you in?
I don't know. They didn't let me in.
Did you answer the questions, Chris?
I'm pretty sure I did.
That's weird. Anyway, so and the group now is just so large. It's kind of like that dog spotting group on Facebook that's just like so large that you get too many posts. So most of the time I have it turned off. But once in a while I'll see a post and I just happened to see this post by Preston, who was the editor for this book. And he made a special post about how bad it was and how terrible the writing was. And I don't want to go into too much detail because he has a hell of a story about his experience working with this author. And we're actually hoping to have him on at a later date, or perhaps maybe just for the Patreon. We're not sure yet. But thank you to Preston for alerting us to the existence of this book. So needless to say, I think I can sum his experience up with this author and editing the series as negative. It's, yeah.
Did you have, wait, Paris, did you have any positive experience with this book? Was there even one part that was kind of good?
Well, before we get too far, I just want to do our content warning. So The content warnings for this episode, so in addition to our usual barnyard language, we got some sex scenes, a little bit of torture, a lot of drug use, guns, kidnapping, and forced prostitution. So, like, you know, if those things are problematic for you, perhaps choose another episode to listen to today. But back to the book. So this is the synopsis for this particular book. It's time for you to fire up your Kindle for the most ingenious and movie-like thriller ebook series, Black Caviar. There's a new gangster in Chi-Town, and his name is Damon. He's vicious, calculative, and a genius in his own right. I'm living, but I'm not alive was the scary contradiction he uttered every night since the murder of his brother. 28 years later, the well-renowned chess player sharpens the blades of capitalism with the American
He's not a chess
whetstone.
player. He plays chess once or something.
And finds himself at the top table in the city's underworld. Rubbing shoulders with the Chicago mayor gives him amenities beyond the normal gangster scope. He lives life as if it's the only thing he has.
Wait a minute, Paris.
No, that's not the end.
But the mayor never came up, did he?
I have 4 more paragraphs. Excuse me.
Wait, but the mayor never happened.
She's mentioned once. On one hand, the devilishly good-looking charmer is a family man, but on the other, he's the head of Chicago's most infamous D-organization.
Oh, no.
His hard and unforgiving exterior secretes a weakness that is exposed in the form of Jane, the series' Black Widow. Please don't be fooled by her passion for high heels and sexy undergarments. She assumes the lingerie she displays is more than agent provocateur. As she remembers from her days at law school, the words are a French legal term for entrapment. Tonight, the two meet at a luxurious boat party, which sparks a fear-provoking journey into the unknown. Can Damon avoid her mind-bending games, which threaten to loosen his grip on the Windy City's windpipe? Or will Jane get caught up in her own sticky web of deceit and pay the ultimate price? One thing's sure, Damon will understand what the great Abraham Lincoln once said. Nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. You may want to switch off your phone and fasten your seatbelt for this book joyride, but be warned, there are many fast corners without brakes and unforeseen dangers lurking in the dark. Your box seat is waiting, and so is a cast so well developed their dispositions overlaps believability. This is an adult read.
I forgot that he ends it with this is an adult read.
I mean, all right, that's... The synopsis is a nice microcosm of, like, all the things that happen in this book and why it's bad.
Absolutely. Like, just kind of like a weird mishmash of cliches that somehow, like, even those seem like they're through a game of telephone and misheard a couple, like a mistranslated box of cliches.
Yeah. So, yeah, like, the plot, you were asking me a couple minutes ago, was there anything redeeming about this? And, like, to be fair... The bones of the plot, like if you're looking at a bullet point outline, it reads like, I don't know, a lot of crime TV drama, like TV shows or like movies, right? Like I actually didn't think the bones of the plot were that bad. And I think in better hands, it could at least be like a mediocre, crime, drug kingpin, like, everyone double-crossing each other,
You'd have to change that title from I'm living but I'm not alive, though.
Oh, fucking Christ, yeah. But, yeah, like, the actual... So, I was like... I remember thinking about this as I was compiling my notes. I was like, it surprisingly didn't have as many plot issues. I mean, there are obvious issues, but like I think like
there's not really any plot holes. There's just like more shit that I didn't need to have in here. That's not relevant to the plot.
Right. But I was thinking about that. I was like, wow, actually the bullet by bullet, like if you were just like, okay, this happens in a very like stripped down way, I think it could be turned into, like I said, a mediocre, like, shooty gun guy drug stuff drama
also
or something.
Also some sex.
Yeah, we can take it. Yeah, whatever. I mean, and
so we can lay out those bullet points pretty much right now.
Yeah. So the plot is like, it's like I said, it's like your average crime in the city story of a drug kingpin and a bunch of people double crossing each other. He's got, a wife and 2 daughters and a mistress. He's traffics cocaine and heroin, I believe, among other things. And he has a lot of, quote unquote lieutenants or whatever that work for him in different parts of the city. There are rival crime bosses, basically. And we kind of come into the story on the eve of him opening up his nightclub called Black Caviar, hence, I guess, the title of the series for some reason. One of his employees, we learn, Randy, is trying to cut him out of some sales. Meanwhile, another of his employees, Rick, is working, spoiler, is working with his mistress, Jane, to ruin him at the employ of the cousin of a man who hired someone to kill his brother a long time ago. So it's a little convoluted there, but it makes sense when you read it.
Yeah, if you read the book, or, you know, like I said, if you're laying this out bullet by bullet or episode by episode, since this guy seems to want to categorize each chapter as an episode.
Boy. Yeah.
And there's 40, 50 episodes in the book. Some of them are very short and would definitely not make for a good length, like an actual episode of television. But
yeah, too many episodes in a 300-page book. So we're in Chicago. I want to say the modern day, like this was published in 2014, but I don't know. Maybe it takes place a little earlier because nobody has smartphones. Like people have cell phones.
There's a scene where someone is looking for a missing CD to play music for.
Right, which is a little dated. I don't know. So, give or take 10 years modern day. The main character... So, there's something stupid about and confusing about the main character. So, the main character's name, we come to know him as Damon. His real name is Dean, but he assumed the name of his dead brother, Damon, after his brother died. So, like, that gets a little confusing.
Are you sure it's not the man?
Oh, my God. I didn't even think about that. I hope.
Are you sure? Like, Paris, I know that sounds like really, really dumb, and it's obviously Damon. But think about what we read in the rest of the book and ask yourself, could it possibly be the man? Especially when there's one of the rival crime bosses that honestly doesn't really matter in the end is named Mega. So you have Mega versus the man.
It could be. So I think basically all you need to know about that is like when present day Damon and his older brother, I'll call him OG Damon, were children. OG Damon was a drug dealer. It seems like he was maybe like a good 10 years older than his brother or something like that. It seemed like there was a good gap because our present day
There's like
Damon
a mentory scene where his older OG Damon comes in and is like, now don't get into selling drugs. Dean was his original name. The current Damon's original name was Dean.
Right.
He's like, don't get into selling drugs, Dean. There's no good in it. Excuse me while I go sell drugs to support the family.
And then you find out that OG Damon knocked up the wife of the guy who was like taking care of them, which is pretty fucked up. There's this couple, Greg and Macy, who took Dean and Damon in as kids when their mom like was having a hard time because I guess their dad died a while ago. And yeah, OG Damon had sex with Macy and got her pregnant, and so Greg hires a hitman to kill him, and he does. But we don't find this out till much later in the book. And even later in the book, I don't think present day Damon knows about the pregnancy, right?
No, that was just kind of like an aside to the reader.
Yeah, so that's kind of the convoluted mess there. And then there's like, the other main character is Jane, who is Damon's mistress, who is kind of his right-hand woman as well.
But how did she become his right-hand woman? It seems like she stepped off a plane from London. Also, Damon lived in London for a period, for some reason.
Well, because the author is also a British to America implant, so that had to be in there somewhere, I guess.
And Jane steps off a plane and goes to a club,
a boat party,
and she just she's there with Tank, right?
Yeah, so she gets into the good graces of Damon's head bodyguard, Tank. She gives him a blowjob to get closer to Damon, and then does so in the turn of like maybe 5 pages, and then all of a sudden it's like fast forward in time and she's his lover and right-hand woman and is in charge of getting the nightclub set up, and in fact is the one who chooses the name, I believe, of Black Caviar.
Well, see, they were spitballing other names, Paris. What was the other name that they were spitballing?
Black Velvet?
Yes, which to them, they don't go with because it sounds like a fast food joint. Where the fuck are you eating fast food that's called Black Velvet?
Yeah.
And what would they sell?
That was very weird. It's one of the many things in this book that's just like, what?
But Paris, really quick, what do you think Black Velvet would sell as fast food?
Oh, I mean, it would definitely be goth versions of red velvet cake. It would be like a sweet shop with black velvet, like goth red velvet cakes. That's my charcoal filled.
That's you know what? That's honestly the best explanation because I had no idea. I was thinking just like weirdly fancy burgers that aren't fancy.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking like a goth themed sweet shop. That's my. But anyway. There's also Cruz, who is like Damon's best friend. There's a guy named Three-Way, who is a white guy with dreads. How
do you get that name as like your gangster nickname?
I don't know. Probably because he kidnaps and pimps out drug addicted women. I don't know.
It just seems like a very dumb gangster. It sounds like someone who has never heard of like actual gang names or affiliations or anything would come up with as a gang person name.
I mean, I also thought that, but then I was doing some reading about actual Chicago crime lords, and like one of the main ones right now is called Nacho. So like, you know.
All right.
I mean, I guess because I had the same thought as you, but now I'm like, maybe they are just kind of dumb. It's fine.
There's a real Three-Way out there somewhere.
Probably. But it's the white guy with dreads thing is funny because the author takes the time to be like, yeah, I know usually white guys with dreads are kind of lame, but this guy's actually cool. Like he's fine. He's cool. And I was just like, all right, man, whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's other characters. Honestly, it doesn't even matter. You don't even need to know any of the other characters.
Cruz and Three-Way don't matter.
A lot of people don't matter. Because the author wrote this as a series, and instead of giving every character a meaningful place in the first book, he's just like, meh, maybe we'll talk about these people in the other books, you know, probably as a way to get people to buy them, which like isn't a great idea, because if you don't hook me into caring about people, I'm not going to read the next book. I don't care how many loose like strings you leave.
You could have Three-Way show up as like a side character in a couple shots, and like you kind of get like a peek at what he's doing. But he has there's a series of chapters he has where he basically picks up a woman off the street who's just like sniffing around on the street for some drugs, I guess.
Yeah.
And he immediately hooks her into a heroin addiction by giving her some free stuff, but then it's not really free, you see. He's going to make her work it off later. After she's hooked after doing heroin for like half a day.
Yeah, the timeline on that was kind of weird. I mean, the whole scene is strange. We'll read it. I mean, I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and then the rest of this episode is going to devolve into Chris and I just reading pieces of this book because it's the only way you can understand. So right at the top, the book is weird because we've got that, you know, that like 8-paragraph summary that I read. And then before the book even starts, there's all this like pre-book work you're doing. And
gotta get ready to read the book.
Yeah. So it starts off with that quote, actually, that was in the summary that I read, supposedly an Abraham Lincoln quote. Yeah, guess what? It's not. Big surprise. I looked, I mean, although I can't really fault the author because a lot of people have attributed it to Lincoln, including some like pretty prominent websites about him. So, but like it seems like historians have never been able to pin it to him, and it seems likely that the quote, nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. It seems like it was something that was said about him and then has become attributed to him later on. Not a big deal. Like I said, it's whatever. I just wanted to point it out.
Minimal research is hardly the biggest of this book's problems.
Yeah. And so the book doesn't even start right away. It starts with this author jerk-off session, some of which I'm going to read. There's a heading that says, "A new breed of thriller writer has emerged. Gone are the days of indie writers aiming to follow in the footsteps of their favorite thriller authors with repackaged stories, a few name changes, and slightly different endings. This is the age of the most vivid and movie-like writing where words leap off the page with venom. It keeps readers pinned to their seats. Not only are narratives being pushed outside the imaginative boundaries with characters so well developed, their dispositions overlap believability, but now we're seeing the emergence of genre fraternization, where books are no longer subject to a single genre." Hey guys, did you know that books were only one genre before Simon H. started writing? Well,
no such thing as crossover fiction ever before Simon came along.
No. No, you see, all books were written in one genre. There was only one, Chris. There was nothing else.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I didn't realize that we are now creating the first new genre there ever was for books.
Yes.
You see, before, there was just regular books. That was the only genre that there was just regular books. But now we have a special movie book.
Yes.
That's different. That's
right.
the new genre that I have, is my movie book.
Yep. And I love you started to break when I said their dispositions overlap believability, another phrase from the summary, which is just a bunch of words that don't really work together.
So when you say overlap believability, what does that mean?
I think he is trying to say that his characters are so well written that you believe them wholeheartedly, but the way that he tried to express that thought was totally fucked up. Anyway, this continues. Simon H. is one such writer. His raw and sexy ability to place you in the box seat will have you so close to the action you'll be able to feel the character's trepidation. Content warning. You're about to enter the world of black caviar, a dark and unforgiving zone on your ebook reader, where words are turned into the most vivid actions. Please be advised that
thanks for reminding me how to read.
What you're about to read contains scenes of an adult nature throughout. And then there's like the copyright, a special thanks, and then another section called the backstory that says, episodes 2 through 9 takes you on a trip back in time and explains how and why Damon becomes the most feared man in Chicago's history and the man who has no equal in the Underworld's Hall of Fame. Why do I need that sentence? If your book was good, you wouldn't need to explain it to me.
Yeah.
And then
you also wouldn't need to hype it up at the start as to how you are the only one that's ever written a book that makes people think about something or has good characters.
Yeah, that was the thing that really struck me as extremely distasteful. And then right after, you're like, okay, good, the book's gonna start. And then you click the button and fuck you. No, the book's not gonna start. Instead, you're gonna read the 6-word character profile for a bunch of characters, because once again, it's like this guy was like, I could work on all this exposition and develop these characters, or I could just tell people what to think in 6 words about each person. Let's do that
That's
instead.
how they're so well developed. Listen, I've created such a complex and nuanced human being that I can boil him down to 6 words.
Yeah. So I'm going to read these because they're pretty funny. Damon, a.k.a. String Bean, D. His 6 words are alpha, authoritarian, territorial, unpredictable, bloodthirsty, mastermind.
So he's a cat? He's a cat.
Yeah, he's a cat. He's a big man cat. Jane, a.k.a. Baby J. Sexy, confident, cunning, sophisticated, heroic, fabulous, schemer.
Heroic?
Yes. Yeah. It's just words. It's just word salad, Chris.
Heroic doesn't apply.
No. Audrea, a.k.a. A-Bomb. By the way, this is someone we only meet in the last, I don't know.
And she's
she has
never
5
referred to
pages.
as A-Bomb.
She has 5 pages in the book. Machiavellian, fearless, exquisite, dominant, perceptive, diplomat. I mean, and it goes on like this.
I'm pretty sure she shows up one time and is like, hey, where's my sister? And then leaves the book forever.
Yeah, she's there. She's there very briefly. I love how Detective Frost, another person who we see for a fucking sentence, he's described as puerile, susceptible, jester, inopportune, inelegant, and pushover.
Inopportune?
And also puerile, I mean, it just means childish, but that also doesn't make sense because he's not mentioned that way in the text at all.
He makes like a couple of offhand jokes in a squad car one time, and then that's it forever.
Yep. I don't know. There's like all these weird... Yeah, so it's that for like 20 people. We don't have to sit here and read all of them, but it's really dumb. Then the book starts, or you think it does, right, Chris? Because
yeah. This is like where the third layer into this Matryoshka doll setup here.
So episode 1, Time is Justice. And it's this like, it's not even really the story, it's like backstory. And then he doesn't tell you the book actually starts until episode 20 or chapter 20.
Yeah, he's like, now the story of Black Caviar can truly begin.
Right, which is confusing because, I mean, 1, you expect to begin in episode 1 or chapter 1. 2, there was that disclaimer at the beginning that said, hey, episodes 2 through 9 are backstory. But you know what? Just kidding. It actually doesn't start until episode 20 or chapter 20.
And even then, you could, like, if you just started with episode 1 or whatever, it would have been fine if that was the intro to, like, it seems very arbitrary as to where the story of Black Caviar actually starts. It's not even like when the club opens. It's like after the club.
Yeah, and there's in the first few chapters, there's also a lot of time travel. Like you go from some guy's cell in Miami in the present day to 28 years earlier. Then we go to
2 days before that, and then 3 days before that
18 months between before the real story begins. Then... Oh, I love when they do like a minute by minute breakdown of the chapters too. Oh yeah, then 2 days before the Black Caviar story begins.
But then also 3 days after that, I think happens.
Yeah, the Black Caviar story begins here. Yeah, it's just not put together in a very thoughtful way. I think the author probably was just like, oh, I think it'll be cool if there's, some back and forth in time. And like, yeah, sure, but like only if that makes sense. Like telling me 18 months, 2 minutes before the 18 months is like not helpful at all.
I am very temporally lost at the beginning part of this book.
In the beginning. So again, our biggest issue here is the writing.
Oh yeah.
And mind you, it's this bad after an editor was hired and spent a bunch of time editing this. So
wait, hold on. He followed editing advice? I thought this editor like gave him a bunch of stuff and then none of it was followed because I can't imagine.
So Preston, the gentleman who introduced us to this book, the editor himself, was he edited this and he said that he actually had to write large portions of it because like essentially, because what he got was just so like disjointed and nonsensical. So yeah, this is the finished product.
But there's like lots of like mistensed verbs and words used that are just wrong.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, he said it was really tough. So again, I don't want to talk too much about his experience because he's not here today to discuss it with us, but there was a lot of like drama surrounding it, but yeah, he was like, this whole thing was awful. So I think I got the sense that maybe it was like he did as much as he could and then was like, I can't fucking rewrite this entire series. So because he worked on a series, not just this book, he worked on the whole series.
Oh no, okay, I can understand that even if he like rewrote some stuff and some verbs were just mishandled, then like I would also
I think
I wouldn't even half-ass this. I would like eighth-ass this.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what happened is he realized how horrible the project was going to be and was like, you know what, never mind. But I'll let him talk about it on a future episode, hopefully. So the following hour is probably just going to be me and Chris reading sections of this book.
Buckle in. There's really no way we can do this justice unless we're just like pulling quotes directly and reacting.
All right, let's just take turns. You start with the first one, and then I'll do the second one, and then we'll just go back and forth.
Maybe we'll give some context to these, but a lot of the times context doesn't matter. It's just the way sentences and metaphors or ideas are constructed. For example, Greg walked in with a face like thunder. You got the old thunder face on.
And he was,
don't piss Greg off.
No, he was angry. And like, I get what he was trying to do, but
Yeah.
it just was like, it was just like a really small fart. Like, it just didn't. The next one was when Jane is talking to some random lady on the party boat about a bad experience she had, and Jane says, "Wow, looks like you were the video game." As in she got played.
Yeah, like, it's just a really corny ass way to put that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Jane is British. I should really work on my accent. I can't even do it.
I mean, what part of Britain do you think she's like Cockney or like?
Well, she's from London, so she has
so it's probably like a
London accent.
posher feel to it. And how about? Well, I mean, here's, like I said, we'll just keep trading off here. At this point, Jane is. I think this is when she's with Tank and she's teasing him.
Yeah, I think so.
Trying to get his. The way this is put is. Jane zeroed in on his South Pole and sensed at any moment it would be pointing northwest. Which is, like, again, it's just like a super corny-ass way to be putting things.
Yep. And this is the scene immediately following, in describing Jane giving Tank a blowjob. Jane was blowing loud and proud with a deep throat action.
Why is it loud?
I don't know. Maybe he really likes the auditory aspect of sex. I have no idea. Ooh, the next one made me cry.
Wait, hold on. Why the word action, like, with a deep throat action?
Yeah.
There must be a more elegant way to put that. There must be better words.
Yeah, a lot of the writing in this book actually reminded me of the Eclipse of Darkness. It was like the Eclipse of Darkness and Dean Jean-Pierre from fucking Women Worship got together, and they were like, you know what?
Like, they watched The Wire once.
Yes.
And but only like 4 episodes.
Yeah, so my theory is that Psymon H is actually Robert Sedani and Dean Jean-Pierre. It's actually their pseudonym. They're working together.
It's like a pen name for both of them.
Yeah, I think that they wrote this just to fuck us, just for us. They went back in time.
They really did. They really did.
Oh, Chris, the next one had me crying because it's an example of how, like, you're just trying to communicate a simple idea, but if you miss a word or like put things in the wrong word order, it can be funny.
Are you talking about he untied his shoelaces and slipped off his Rolex?
It sounds like his Rolex was attached to his hand with shoelaces.
Yeah, like he just had it like it was an ankle piece for him.
Yeah, like I know what he's saying. Like he untied his shoelaces, took off his shoes, and then slipped off his Rolex on his wrist. But like
it makes it sound like he had to untie the shoelaces to get to the Rolex.
It implies a causal relationship that obviously isn't there, and that's why it's funny. The warmth of his vivacious tuskness.
I don't know what what does tuskness mean?
It's his dick, Chris. His vivacious hard dick.
Oh, because it's like hard like a tusk?
It's like a tusk pointing out of his yeah.
That's the dumbest way to talk about a boner I've ever heard.
Yeah, like when I think about boners, I'm not like, oh yeah, give me that tusk. Like I'm not like
that nice sharp pointy dick.
Yeah, I love to be stabbed in my womb. It's great.
I mean that kind. Surprisingly, there's not like a womb mention.
Oh, dude, I know. I was so excited.
So points to you, Psymon H. Christ, I don't know.
The next one is my favorite.
All right. What's the context of this? Because I forgot.
He was playing chess.
This is like the one scene he was playing chess with. Against... Who is he playing chess against? Himself?
I think Jane or Jenna. I don't remember.
Eyeing up his chess piece, he brainwaved on how he wanted the white chess pieces to find the superior positions.
Yeah, again, very similar to the dark Unveiling the Unseen or whatever that book was.
He brainwaved? Like, are you just opening a thesaurus for... You could just say he thought about. Like, it's fine. Well, you don't have to make up a new way to think, to write about he had a thought.
Dude, he uses brainwaved all the time, and...
He does.
It was one of the things that made me think this was Robert Sagne, or Sagne, I can't pronounce his name. And also his tendency to explain things like playing chess in such detail that is so unnecessary. Like, he thought about how he wanted to move the white chess pieces to find the superior. Yeah, we fucking know how chess works. Thank you.
That's
like
how you play the game.
Jesus. It would
not even like a metaphor. Not even like a metaphor about him like doing that in the crime world, or like trying to. Like a visual metaphor, like he's talking about putting someone into place and he moves a rook into place or something. No, it's just Psymon was playing chess because he's a smart guy, and he was thinking about how to make the smartest moves because he's smart.
Yeah, it was not good. This is when his best friend is just driving around, and there's a sentence that says, "Horns honked as drivers showed traffic Tourette's, not being able to stop the urge of screaming vulgarities at others who infringed on their space." Yeah, great, thanks. I know what road rage is. You could have said road rage. You could have avoided...
Yeah, that very elaborate sentence that doesn't really matter to anything. Sometimes this reads like someone trying to hit a word count for a term paper. It very much sounds like someone just trying to rewrite simple ideas as to like make them as long as possible, because maybe he just thought, hey, books have a lot of words in them. The more words there are, the better.
Yeah. The next one's good because the next one could have been a sentence, but then something happened.
Failing not to let it show, Randy's body language rendered speechless, just as his mind told him that being caught doing something that may need an explanation at a later date was never the best position to be in, especially with Damien. I'm having trouble trying to parse like the tensing here and what part of the it's a weird sentence.
Yeah, like
right?
I get he's trying to say that like Randy's body betrays him, right? You know, he's trying to mask how how nervous he is, but obviously his body language betrays him, and he's thinking about, you know, how dangerous his predicament is, that, you know, Damon's a dangerous man and he doesn't want to let him know that something, you know, that he's
I think I can fix the sentence. I think I can fix the sentence by placing the word "was" in another spot. I'm gonna try to read the sentence again with this word.
That still doesn't fix it. I get what you mean, but anyway.
Do you want me to try to read it again, see if it sounds better?
No, because I know
we've got too much other stuff to do. This Terrible Book Club listeners can try to put the word "was" into that sentence I read on your own for your fun at-home activity.
Yeah, why did we not set up a Mad Libs forum on the website for this? The next one is there's like this weird prostitution scene for no reason, and the woman is, I don't know, daydreaming, and it says there was no more time to wish on a star when she heard the doorbell ring twice.
She wasn't looking out the window or anything, or like looking at the night sky, by the way.
Nope.
So that's not even a setup for it's just a random aside about wishing upon a star.
Oh, it gets more fun. So there's a whole section that I would love to read.
It's technically my turn, but I would allow you to you know, we all know I can only read short things. I can't read direct from copy for too long.
That's true. Sorry, I'm just trying to... Oh, I think I found it. Oh, I highlighted it and I didn't even see it. So this is while Anna, the prostitute or sex worker, I guess that's the better way to put it.
She's under 3 ways employ. That's why she's relevant to the story. She's
under 3 ways employ, so she is a drug-addicted sex worker, and she is having an encounter with a customer. Anna conjured up thoughts of her favorite activity in the whole wide world, kissing. A passionate tongue canoodle with a customer was a forbidden action she never entertained, as it reminded her too much of the closeness she once shared with her husband. Given the chance, she would break the rule, wanting to feel the electric energy of osculation with this man. Rocking her pelvis from front to back, just below his buttocks, she could feel herself getting deeper in the mood. Her hands shared the work of relieving his full lymph nodes from all the dormant infections his body had collected over the years.
Ew? Gross? What?
I just felt like that paragraph was a great little like, this is what's wrong with this book.
That's like the sexy part of the book, which, like, by the way, it's not like any of the other parts of the book are equally as sexy. there's like a lot of things about like baby oil. There's one scene where someone asks like, "Oh, do you want talcum powder or baby oil?" And I'm like, "Is that like a sexy thing,
dude? Yeah. Let me just you know what? Rub me down in talc powder so we can have a nice dusty fuck, because that's exactly what we should be doing, right? Like
the ashiest of fucks.
That was confusing. The baby powder was confusing.
I like there to be a cloud that erupts when I slap an ass.
I like to actually develop asthma for each. It's like, get that baby powder in my lungs. It's my fetish. I love breathing in baby powder. So she gives him a massage with baby oil because he's not a psychopath, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, if you went with like talcum powder, I would have been like, I guess, a little bit more intrigued by the scene or something.
It would have been great if it like devolved into a baby powder fight in the room. Like they don't even have sex; they're just like squirting baby powder at each other. There's like several chapters of the. I mean, and chapter is a generous way to describe these episodes, but that is what they're supposed to be. They have this ongoing sexy scene or whatever, and it's basically the cliche of like, oh, the sex worker finds the one man that she falls in love with, and the man falls in love with her, and it's like, okay.
Never been done before. Nope. Such well-developed characters.
So developed.
Leaping off the page with venomous words,
yes.
Or whatever he...
Oh, there's another of my favorite quotes is from the next section with these two, and I'll just read the sentence. His mouth opened and locked into place, and before she could pull away, her tongue openly engaged with his, swirling in French kisslets of passion. French kisslets of passion.
It's like fuck. It's like gross and corny. Like the two things you don't want to be in an erotic scene. Yeah. Those are the two things you should be avoiding at all costs.
Yeah, like. I mean, I'm sorry, but if I read something like that, that's it. I'm done.
The next part might actually be my favorite like page in the book. Actually, so much so that I like took a screenshot of it and started sending it around to people.
What? I didn't even see this. I was cut out of the screenshot training circle.
You read the book, so we were going to talk about it anyway. But I'm just going to read my favorite page or section in the book. Now, I've got that off my chest. What can I do for you, Mr. Pimp Juice? I know you want advice about how best to get more men through your brothel doors spending more money, Randy laughed. Well, my friend, let's check out the motivating factors as to why my whorehouses stay busy. Like oxygen, it's only important if you're not getting any sex at home. Lack thereof causes penis downheartedness, angst, and a willingness to do anything and go anywhere to get some. The question you should be asking yourself is why you're the only man in a 100-block radius not getting any. These are the reasons why you keep tripping over the doormat to get inside my brothels, Randy. Penis downheartedness.
Oh, and Mr. Pimp Juice. Yeah, those are
Mr. Pimp Juice.
Oh, that's great.
There's a lot of juice talk in this book.
A lot of juice. Oh yeah, then there's also the phrase that caught us both off guard, kind of in the similar section, was the sex worker who we were just talking about. She refers to her customers as wheat bellies, and I think she's trying to, or the author is trying to say like, oh, those kind of like middle-aged dudes who have large stomachs because they've had too much beer. Like, kind of conjuring that image, but it was such a kind of, like Chris was saying, kind of a silly way to put it that it's
just, like a weirdly, like, rednecky, down-home-ass way to put someone that's fat, which is, like, not the tone of the rest of the book.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with all of these things we're pointing out, is that they really distract you from the story. Like, all these missteps, and they're so frequent. I mean, this list keeps going. Is the next one...
We're not even halfway done.
Is the next one me, or is that you?
I just did Mr. Pimp Juice and Penis Downheartedness, so
okay.
Go ahead.
The embarrassing moment of removal had arrived, but to his dismay, he retracted his manhood, minus the condom.
Why is it embarrassing to pull out? You're going to have to leave sometime.
Yeah, I don't know why it's embarrassing, and also it's just like such a bland way to talk about something that could be... very stress-inducing if we gave a shit about the characters. Of course we don't, so whatever. But like every opportunity to engage with the material in a deeper way, in a more surprising way, in a more engaging way, he just throws out the window. He's like, nope, I'm just gonna write this like a textbook. Like, oh great, that's wonderful. It's definitely how fiction works.
All right, I'm going to tackle the next one here because I don't know. Have you ever watched 30 Rock, Paris?
I've only seen a couple episodes, but can you actually just read the section that this is from?
I don't have really like the location on hand.
I can find it.
But essentially, I'll give the 30 Rock context here. There's an episode of 30 Rock where two characters are talking about how best to be creeps about picking up easy-to-pick-up women, and their strategy is to wait until you see someone crying in a public situation and to walk up to them and say ask a very specific question, which was just written out completely seriously in almost the same manner in this paragraph. So why don't you hit me with it, Paris? All right. Actually, you know what? I'll just read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Baby, what are you looking at so intently over there? Hello, calling Damon. 1-2, calling Damon. Jane laughed out loud, still trying to attract his attention. Hey, baby, what's wrong? Which is the line from 30 Rock on how to pick up, easy to pick up people. It just appeared in this context as Jane asking Damon about what's wrong. It still was funny to me.
I found the other thing I was thinking about when Three-Way picks up Sky.
Why don't we talk about this one too?
That's
while
like
we're here?
that scene is what I think of as, hey baby, what's wrong with the scene? So Three-Way, remember the very okay white man with dreads. It is okay that he has dreads. He is driving around and sees a girl on a street corner, looking nervous, quote unquote. Somehow he can determine that just by quickly driving by her. And he's like, ooh, basically thinks she's a good mark, for his business of making women addicted to heroin and then making them do sex work for him. He pulls his car up on the pavement, rolls down the window and says, hey girl, you're a long way from home. Do you know you can get killed out here? He asked with a warm, friendly smile.
Yeah.
If a dude pulled up to me and tried, your first instinct is to run away, walk very quickly in the opposite direction.
Not Sky.
The woman, who appeared clean and tidy, peered in and gave a half smile, unsure what to say or do next. Trying to take in as much information, he settled on her fresh-looking skin and oval-shaped face and concluded that maybe she wasn't a hooker. Her dyed pink A-line with low lights gave the impression she was a free spirit with a little edge. My name's Three-Way. Well, that's what my friends call me. I think it's because I know these freeways like the back of my hand. That doesn't even make sense. He dawdled for a moment, admiring her green eyes, which seemed to change in the light. So, what brings you out here? Don't tell me you're doing an assignment for college about the deprivation and low living standards in the hood. The woman broke out into a nervous giggle, but still never said anything. I bet your mom always told you to never speak to strangers, but I guess I'm no longer a stranger since I've introduced myself. What's your name? Hold on, don't tell me. Let me guess. Something fresh and exciting? By this time, the woman had moved closer to the open window, with hands loosely hooked in the loops of her snug-fitting jeans. In an apprehensive voice, she replied, My name is Sky. Well, that's a lovely name. It's a pleasure to meet you, Sky. Reaching over, he put his hand out in Sky's direction and waited for his new acquaintance to extend hers. After hesitating a moment, she did, and while he spoke, he discreetly checked for any needle or track marks, anything to give him a clue. I'm off to get a cup of coffee. Would you like to join me? Plus, it's about to rain. Come on, jump in. I don't bite, he teased, releasing his grip. Sky seemed to relax a little, but took an extra second to think about his proposal. That whole scene was like, what the fuck? I mean, don't get me wrong. I get that sometimes people end up in sketchy situations because, they're looking for drugs or they're lost or whatever, but
it most definitely does not happen like that.
No, and why, that was like an ABC after school special about a guy in a white van that says free candy picking up a 5-year-old. That's kind of how it felt. I mean, Sky is an adult woman. She's in college, so she's young, but, I just don't know that any person would be that naive.
You would think, no, she's incredibly naive, and it's, there's so many asides about Three-Way being like, oh, he took advantage of her naiveness because he's a bad guy that would always does this to anyone that crosses him. Three-Way is a bad guy. But Sky is such an I can't imagine a woman in this world, in this society, who would just hop into a car with someone like that, especially after all, like, hey, did you know you can get killed out here? Hop in. But
yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that being addicted to drugs puts you in very risky situations and makes you make decisions that, externally seem totally outlandish. But at this point, she's not addicted to anything. She was like looking for some coke, or maybe she was looking, I think she was actually looking for heroin, but it's treated like she's not addicted to it yet. Right, exactly. And so I don't know, it seems very strange that you would get in a car with someone. I mean, honestly, if you're looking for drugs and you're on a street corner, someone will roll up to you and just sell to you from their car. Like, you don't have to get in the car and go with them to another location. Or if you're at a college campus, you could probably reasonably find them through some contacts. Right. Like, the fact that she's in college... You don't have to go across town or whatever, No, man. You really don't. Like, I mean, and this is... I mean, maybe Chris and I are giving a little too much away. Disclaimer, I think it's just... We just know a lot of people who... who dabbled in drugs while we were in college, and it seemed very easy to get kind of anything that you wanted.
Maybe not like super, but like you don't have to travel that far and stand around waiting for someone to roll up and be like, hey, did you know that you can die out here? Come with me away to my drug lair.
Yes, to my lair, which is exactly what happens. He kidnaps her and continues to give her tons of heroin until she's so strung out that she can't even like function. And he keeps her locked in his apartment and then eventually forces her into sex work so that she can keep doing heroin. I don't know. And that whole storyline, as Chris pointed out earlier, just doesn't matter. She fucking gets shot in the head while giving a blowjob or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Damon ambushes Mega, the rival crime boss that we mentioned before, who is only referred to as Mega, by the way. So I always pictured him as Megatron from Transformers because why the fuck not?
I actually did, too.
You gave me much other... There's no reason for me to go elsewise. There's not much of a description. He's just mentioned offhand, then all of a sudden he's in this scene where Sky and Anna are stripping for him, and Sky is blowing like his lieutenant or something, and then Damon walks in and kills the lieutenant and Sky. Why did he have to kill Sky?
I don't know, man. There's no reason for anything. Oh yeah, that's also the scene where they tell Anna to go and undress in the cupboard. And they're like in a warehouse, and they're like, go undress in the cupboard or in the cabinet or something.
It's referred to as a cupboard many times. And they're like, yeah, just go strip inside the cupboard and get ready for us. Which is totally just a setup for Anna to be hiding when Damon walks in, and not a reasonable thing that people would do when you hired someone for sex work, to be like, go strip somewhere else.
Yeah, especially when I think Sky had already gotten naked in front of them, right? But then they're like, oh, yes. Anna, go get naked in the cupboard, in the warehouse cupboards. Jesus, make sure you find, Chip in there when you're... Lumiere may also be found.
So she's like in the cupboard, you try to get undressed, and the fucking candle starts talking to her or whatever.
Be my guest. Be my guest.
No, wait, stay in the cupboard. They're all getting murdered out there, actually. Just stay in here.
Strip right down, ignore the rest. Oh, God.
Let's continue down the list of things.
Crying, imagine. Oh God, Chris, there's probably Beauty and the Beast porn out there.
Oh, 100%.
There's gotta be. But
I've seen it.
No, like live.
Paris. I've seen it. It's
live
there.
Action.
Yes.
You can we get a brief description for inquiring minds?
I mean, like, I haven't seen like Lumiere live action stuff, but definitely like Beauty and the Beast stuff is out there.
Yeah,
like
but
someone dressed up in like a purple face paint and like a mane.
Oh,
like that.
I want like a full musical review. I want all the songs to be redone. I want like
no, no, they didn't have that budget.
Oh, come on! How did they not have Lumiere and the fucking feather duster? They were
you gotta pay someone on Patreon to draw that for you.
No,
that's how that works.
No. I want a full. I want I want full regalia. I want songs. I want costumes.
The Terrible Book Club Kickstarter page is going live next week. What are the other songs in Beauty and the Beast that you would change? All I remember really is Be My Guest.
That's like the opening one. What is it? It's like, fuck. It's like when Belle's it's like when Belle's walking around the town and everyone's singing about how she's weird because she reads books.
Oh yeah. All I remember from Beauty and the Beast is Be My Guest. So
dude, you
can do so much with that already. Fuck my chest. Suck a breast.
No, even with the opening one I was thinking of, it's like it starts off like something another day, like always something like rolls and breads to sell, like butts and tits to sell.
All right, let's continue. This list is still long, Paris. We gotta get moving, despite our wonderful idea that we have.
I was more prepared to re-sing the entire Beauty and the Beast film with porn lyrics.
I'll get the lyrics up. And
I blame last episode's book on this. We started with the Disney hentai in the autism episode, the autism play episode, and now we've
continuing
moved.
Theme for the rest of Terrible Book Club.
God. You made the next one's all you.
So at least like 3 different characters in the book will exclaim, "Not so fast, Turbo," which sounds like a line from Power Rangers to me. Not like something you would say to people for getting ahead of themselves. And 3 different people say it, so it's not even like a cute thing that one person says a lot. There's also a lot of times where a paragraph will just start with, "Dang," the character shouted. There's a lot of dangs in this book.
Oh, I love the poorly like just textbook descriptions. Three.
I'm Three-Way, the gangster.
Sorry, I think I broke myself with the Beauty and the Beast porn musical.
Did you know you can get killed out here, girl? Why don't you hop in my car? I'm Three-Way.
Sorry.
Oh, God.
I was trying to say...
I'll do it for you, Paris.
Thank you.
A chapter opens with Three-Way remained pissed, which just to me, like, it's just a weird way to like start things off. He's like, he's remained pissed the whole time.
This other one, oh God, this is my pool, and I'm the fish keeper around here.
Why do you have fish in your pool? They should be in the aquarium. By the way, Damon also has an aquarium full of donkey skin piranha.
Which aren't even a thing. Like, I'm pretty... Okay, again, I'm not an expert, but, like, I used to work at a fucking aquarium, and we had piranha, and I've never heard of donkey skin piranha. Also, like, I would like to just point out that this book is spreading the incorrect propaganda that piranha... will eat you alive and they're man-eaters. Like, no, dude, most piranha are herbivores. They're all omnivores. None of them are just strict carnivores. And they also won't fucking, like, swim out of a river to fucking eat you. Like, piranha get a bad rep because in the Amazon during, like, whenever there's a dry season where these fish live, sometimes the rivers that they live in can get so dry that they actually get trapped in a pool, in like a puddle, because there are like divots in the soil beneath the river, and like as things dry, they get stuck in these little puddles, and so they don't have any food. So what happens is if people come along and step into those puddles, they then get bitten and attacked because the piranha are starving because they have been trapped in a pond. I mean, and some species of piranha are like more aggressive than others. Like the red-bellied ones are particularly aggressive. But still, this concept that like you throw a human man into a tank of piranha and they'll eat him alive. It's like
down
any
to the
animal.
bones, like in the cartoons.
Yeah, and it's like sure, like any animal, if you starve them, they will eat whatever you put in front of them. But that goes for cats. Cats eat their owners when their owners die and no one else knows. Like, it goes for dogs. I mean, same. Like, any animal, if you starve them and then...
Let me ask you this, Paris. How many piranha do you think it would take to eat a person alive if they were... Let's say there was a deep enough puddle and they were hungry enough. How many do you think it would take to actually murder a person with their teeth?
I don't know. I mean, it's like, if there's only one of them, you can just rip it off.
How about 6? Because Damon has 6, and they're treated as murder machines.
Yeah. He also has in his nightclub, in the Black Caviar nightclub, he also has a tank of mini hammerheads, which I think they mean bonnet heads, because bonnet heads look like mini hammerheads. But why is it's always oh, this dude's so rich and fabulous, he's got all these dangerous animals. Fuck you.
Let's continue down the list with another really cool way to put something. Everything will be cooler than a fan.
Oh, yeah. You know that phrase that cool guys
Real
utter.
high effort writing there.
You have a great note here. Oh, Detective Phillips, what a pleasure to hear your voice. I do hope you have something for me. Is the most incriminating shit to say to your dirty cop contact.
There's no... those are the words you shouldn't absolutely use.
Yeah.
There's no reason...
If you're talking to your dirty cop contact, please talk about donuts or something. Have a system. Don't be hey,
yeah.
You got any illegal information for me, friend, on this phone call that could easily be recorded?
Me, cop, and I'll give you your rank and last name so you're easily identifiable to anyone listening.
Yeah. Ooh, job career. You know.
That's just someone's talking about, I'm worried about my job career. Just pick one. That was a misedit, right? Something happened that you just forgot to pick one.
Chris, the next one's really good.
Get it together before my bullet and your heart make an awesome connection.
Yeah, your bullet and my heart have they've just got this. They've always been in love. And we gotta foster that relationship. They're gonna make an awesome connection.
That's just, again, it's such a corny way to put... The whole book is just mega corny in a way that is unforgivable for something that's trying to explicitly be cool.
And very
smooth.
serious, right? That's the thing. We're laughing, but we're talking about shit that's actually really fucked up. Women being forced into sex work because they've been forced to be they've been kidnapped and, made to do drugs against their will. We have, this crime syndicate shit going on, dirty cops, people being tortured alive. It's all kinds of crazy shit happening, but it doesn't affect you because it's all written so stupidly.
It's a severe mishandling of a lot of serious subjects.
Oh boy. Thank you for putting this in there, Chris. The only solace he found was in the airport coffee. But not even that could take away the harsh complexity of being Chicago's crime alpha. Yeah, not even that shitty coffee can take the edge off of being the fucking crime lord of Chicago. It doesn't make sense. Of course not.
Crime alpha is the dumbest way to put it. I get it. He's trying to sell it like he's a big sexy crime lord man or whatever. But it's just corny. It's stupid.
Yeah, it's not compelling at all. It makes you laugh rather than want to engage.
Crime alpha sounds like a shitty villain, like super villain or something.
There's a point in the book where he describes the main character Damon being alone by himself, and he just yells "I'm the alpha" or something.
Yeah. Or how about how in the description it says every night he repeats, "I'm living, but I'm not alive." And he does say that at one point in the book after there's a phone call. Some guy keeps calling him up and laughing at him and is unidentified for the entirety of the book, pretty much. And he says "Oh, but I'm living, but I'm not alive. You can't get one over me." And the summary leads me to believe he says that every night, but he doesn't.
No.
So.
Oh, the other thing I forgot about, we talked about how strange the over specificity is sometimes. And one of those things I forgot to put in the notes was his dogs. So Damon has these 2 dogs that he reminds us every single time the dogs are in a scene. He says, Damon's Caucasian Ovcharka dogs, his Ovcharka dogs from the Caucasian mountain range. Like, he won't stop with it. And, like, I get it, dude. They're big, beefy, cool-ass dogs. Like, they're like, if you've ever seen a Tibetan Mastiff, they're very similar.
Yeah.
Like, so huge fucking dogs, like, pushing, 200 pounds. They're really big. And...
you have more to say about them?
I was just gonna say, like, whenever they're mentioned, it's always, like, his big, menacing dogs are loyal only to him. His Ovcharka dogs, his Ovcharka... It's like, dude... no one's ever heard of a Caucasian Ovcharka before. Like, you might want to give a little more context. It's weird. So he has this, like, over specificity every time he mentions them, but then doesn't elaborate on the dogs. Like, and it's just like, it's not like you had a Doberman. Like, everyone knows what a fucking Doberman is. It's like know your audience. Like, I don't know.
There's also I think Cruz has a pair of cats, and one cat smashes a glass vase with, like, the power of throwing, like, keys off a table or stuff. It's a very confusing sentence.
Yes, you're
but
right.
It's a very strong cat, no matter how you slice it.
And again, with Cruz, this is Damon's best friend, his cats, it goes into this weird specificity about how they're ragdoll cats, and they're very beautiful. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And then, the cat swipes some keys off a table, because cats, they always gotta be fucking swiping shit off surfaces, but the cat does it with such force that the keys rocket into a glass vase and shatter the vase. And I was like, that's a really fucking strong cat.
What are you feeding that cat, dude? Just ultra cat steroids. Imagine Garfield wanting his lasagna, but he's fucking rich. That's what.
Yeah, in fact, that whole scene is where the cat helps him find his keys. There's a whole scene where Cruz has lost his car keys, and his cat helps him find them.
It's, like, relevant later because he's, like, minorly late for something, but it doesn't really matter in the context of the story at all. This all takes place, like, in the middle of Cruz being teased by his wife for a week, with, like, signs over her vagina while she walks around in a G-string. It's like, she's walking around in a G-string all week with a sign over her vagina that says, "Do not enter." And then later on, she has another sign, a cardboard sign that says "One more night" that she walks around with.
Yeah, this just seems like a lot of effort. Because they explain that, like, Cruz and his wife, I don't remember her name, she's a very minor character. It talks about how, they have this plan where they have sex once a month. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so in the week leading up to the sex, it's this big thing where the wife parades around, like Chris was saying, in a G-string with cardboard signs, like, taped over the G-string. And again, it was like all this unnecessary stuff. I don't
Mind
understand.
You, I like a good tease, but this is, again, such a corny tease.
Yeah, and also, like, why do we care about this? As readers of this book, we've been reading about Damon and his shit forever, and then they start talking about Cruz, and it's like, why do I give a shit about Damon's best friend? He's not integral to the story at all. And why do
not relevant in any way.
Why do I give a shit about his sex habits with his fucking wife? I don't care.
There's no reason to include this.
No. Oh boy. And then speaking of which, Adele. Her name is Adele. Thank you.
That must be just, like, him trying to put the actual singer in his, like,
yeah.
It seems with the way, like, random Britishisms pop in here, like people talking about having a lay-in or something like that.
And that was another problem I had with the book, is because the author is originally from England, he uses all these phrases like a lay-in, or he refers to nail polish as varnish, and that's fine, but then he also mixes it in with Americanisms, like, for example, actually, the nail it's nail varnish in one sentence and the nail polish in the next, and it's like, I just want some consistency in the voice, of the story. Yeah. If you're writing for an American audience, maybe stick with the American versions. If you're writing for a British audience, use the British ones, but, like, just choose one. I found that a little disorienting.
It is.
But speaking of Cruz and Adele's once a month fuckfest that they organize, there's Chris, you might want to go into more detail, but this is a sentence pulled from that part. This is Cruz thinking. He remembered sticking his middle finger in the air for a full 12 chimes while Adele did her 12 licks to heaven.
There's a clock going off somewhere, like a bell tower, and while Adele's blowing him, he decides to give the sky the middle, or the clock the middle finger?
Yeah, because,
I don't know who was doing the fuck you two, but because it's noon or something?
Yeah, because, Chris, when you're getting a blowjob, you just have to. It's like a reflex. You have to just put your middle fingers in the air.
No, I think it's only because the clock struck 12.
I don't know. It's a very weird thing to write.
What? Why?
I don't know. Oh my god, we still have like another 2 pages of notes.
No, but we even skipped over some things like this line, with a neck stiffer than a box of Viagra. It's not the box that's stiff.
No, you see, Chris, they've upped their game in packaging. They've now found a way to repurpose the Viagra as also the container. Yeah.
It was the night before change, is how one chapter starts.
Oh, I found the other note about the sex scene between Adele and Cruz. There's a whole sentence or two about how she covers his whole ball sack, his whole scrotum in honey. Yeah. It's like a big thing.
Being very specific to say she made sure every nook and cranny of his scrotum was covered in honey, which sounds like a UTI waiting to happen to me.
Oh, God.
Or just like a messy, like if he shaved clean. If there's hairs over there, it's gonna fucking like hurt later.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, maybe he waxes his whole body. I don't know.
He better if you're pouring honey on it.
That's very true. So I think we'll close with just some other fun memories from this story. Literally like the second or third paragraph, when the story begins, there's a scene where we're in a prison in Miami, and there's this guy, Melvin, talking about how he remembers watching Damon torture his brother Sam alive. And I know that sounds exciting, but it's not, because the way it's written is fucking lame. And he's talking about how he's trying to get to sleep, but unfortunately the horror of hundreds of flip-flops are keeping him awake.
Whap, whap, whap. Whap, whap, whap. But mind you, I'm super annoyed by that sound too. But like the sound, like imagining hundreds of them just whap, 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 whap.
It was just such a strange thing to mention. Chris pointed out that there's a scene later in the series where Jane, who is, Damon's right-hand woman and mistress, she's just sadly DJing by herself in the club. And then
Damon just like walks up to her and, like, as she's like sadly like spinning some vinyl
by herself, and then he fucks her while she's looking at shoes
from behind. And then later on, his kid's like, "What's that lipstick on your collar, Daddy?" Like, how'd that happen? I guess she's flexible, is how that happened.
Or maybe it continued, but yeah, I had the same note. I was like, so actually, I forgot about that. Yeah, like, so the whole scene is strange. Like, I forget, maybe they got into an argument or something. I think they got into an argument, right? And Jane leaves the office in the club and goes down to the floor to sadly DJ by herself, because I guess that's how she does. And she's DJing, and then Damon comes in to be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, baby," or whatever. And he starts fucking her over the turntable, which, like, I know everyone's fabulously wealthy, but like, hey, let's not damage the turntable, okay?
Yeah, shit's expensive.
And I guess there's also a laptop open. And while he's fucking her from behind, so while Damon is fucking Jane, she's pulling up images of shoes and focusing on these awesome shoes that Damon's gonna buy her while he's fucking her, which is just like the most capitalist thing ever. Like,
it's like the most ham-fisted characterization of a woman as materialistic I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, she loves shoes so much she's gonna look at them while you fuck her. Like, okay, dude, that's pretty weird. I mean, I guess if you're a foot fetishist, fine, but like, no one established that. That was not established for Jane. There's just a lot of things about shoes. Also, he talks about, there's another part where he's talking about Damon, being a rich crime boss. Of course, he has to wind down at the end of a long day with like cigars and whiskey. But he's like, oh yeah, he started drinking his JD. Like, dude, if you're rich, you're not fucking drinking Jack Daniels. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Jack Daniels is like bottom shelf whiskey. I mean, sure, sometimes they do like, you know, some more special versions, but that's like painting someone as a rich beer aficionado and being like, oh, he sat down with his Sam Adams. Like, you know, it's like,
he had a natty ice on hand in the fridge, crisp and clean.
Like, it's fine. I'm not like, it's fine, but it doesn't make sense, right? If you're
it's not how you would characterize him if you're trying to make him seem upscale.
Right.
Similarly, later on, there's a mention of Swarovski crystals, but it's spelled Swarovski.
Yep.
It's not the correct way.
So later when like the big, I don't know, one of the big moments of climax, not sexual story climax in the book, where Rick, the guy who is betraying Damon, lets a bunch of dudes into the club to stage Jane's kidnapping and like steal some shit and fuck up his club or whatever. So Chris has an amazing note that I don't want to steal from him. If you want to talk about these six masked men that come in,
he lets in like he assembled a posse of some kind to break into the club, steal stuff, or you know, generally cause some mayhem and fuck Damon's life up. It's specific to mention what kind of weapons all six of these men had. 3 of them have handguns, 2 of them have lead pipes, and the last guy has in one hand a meat cleaver and the other one a rolled up magazine. What fucking class are you playing, dude? Like, what?
Oh my god.
Why is that this? Like, did he just forget, like, they were about to do, like, the break-in today or something? He's like, oh shit, I'll take the knife over here and a magazine by the door. Okay.
I guess, you know what? Other people have guns. This is probably fine. I'll just...
Is he the animal handler? In case there's a dog, he beats them back with the magazine and then kills them with the meat cleaver? Like,
no, Chris, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that he read 101 Weapons for Women knows that you can cut a motherfucker with a magazine.
Yeah, that's many blades.
He can confuse people if he throws the pages in their face. If you haven't listened to the episode
it's
where
this
we
much Field and Stream,
bitch! And then, so we find out that the rolled up I think it's actually a rolled up poster?
I don't think it matters a whole lot.
Well, the poster comes into play. So they stage this kidnapping of Jane, and they leave a poster, or they take a picture of the poster, I forget. But they unfurl the magazine poster or whatever, and it says, Gabos, game ain't based on sympathy, which I thought was supposed to mean something to Damon, but apparently he has also never seen this phrase before.
Just someone dropping like a shitty like tagline.
Yeah.
Why do you have to abbreviate it to Gabos?
And also, like, I don't understand why that's even necessary. Like, obviously you're all fucking crime bosses trying to either forge allegiances or you're, you know, in some kind of war with each other, right? Like, I don't see why you have to say game ain't based on sympathy. Like, I don't think anyone has a pre-existing notion that the world of crime has anything to do with sympathy, right? Like, what's the point of even saying
I just sent this poster over to clarify for you. I sent my last guy. He's the message bringer. You see, he unveils that. In fact, you should have expected this to happen to you based on my really clever acronym of Gabos.
And it sounds dumb. It sounds either like the male island of Lesbos, like Lesbos and Gabos out in the, you know, sea, or it's like a bad villain from a child's cartoon, like, oh no, we must band together and defeat Gabos.
it reminds. There's that one episode of The Simpsons where Krusty has a rival fake ventriloquist coming in with the dummy named Gabbo, and there's just a bunch of weird ads that everyone sees on Springfield television about Gabbo. So I just kept thinking about that guy.
I just spit the mouthful of tea I had in my mouth back into my cup. Because I forgot about Gabbo. Oh no. Oh,
That's what I thought about the whole time.
he unfurls the poster and it's just a poster of Gabbo. Game 8 based on...
Sentence incomplete because I ran out.
No, yeah. Game 8 based on... I don't know.
Fill in the blank, whatever you want it to be.
Oh, Gabbo. No, because Gabbo was Gabbo, right? So
yeah, yes.
Game 8 based... Ball... Fuck.
Game 8 baseball out.
Oh, no, it's like...
Yeah, that's about as good as the writing of the rest of the book, so you know what, honestly.
Oh my god.
We got a couple more points to hit here, Paris. We still have a couple more points to hit here.
So this... One of my favorite parts of the book is when the kidnapping is staged, but of course, Damon thinks Jane has really been kidnapped, and they're like, $6 million or we'll kill a bitch or whatever, however they put it. And Damon's like, oh no, Jane's been kidnapped, she's in danger. Oh, you know what? But I gotta get like a sandwich and a nap in, like before.
He stops off at home for a shower and a sandwich and a nap, just...
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, I guess he went home to shower and nap and have a sandwich, but like surely he's gonna get right on trying to find Jane, because in the text it's like he's so worried about Jane, his world is crashing down around him because Jane has been kidnapped. What if Jane is dead? He will kill himself if something happens to Jane, but first a sandwich. And then so he has a sandwich and a shower and his nap, and you're like, okay, he's gonna hit the road, he's gonna hit the fucking pavement, like he's gonna be like Sonic, he's gonna be on fire. Fucking no, he's
gotta Gabbo fast.
Gabbo gotta go fast. So he's like, so you're like, okay, surely this is where he mounts his investigation into where Jane has gone, but no, first he has to set up a bunch of interviews at the club to replace Jane.
Yeah, in case. It's just smart business work.
It's just smart business, right? And so first there's a couple of paragraphs about him organizing interviews, and you're like, what? And then you're like, okay, all right, he's got all that straight away. He's got a sandwich, shower, nap. He's got the interview set up. Now he's gonna go find Jane. But no, like, finally, several days go by. And like, other shit is happening. And I guess, like, good thing that this was a setup and Jane actually wasn't in danger, because let me tell you, if she was, she would have been fucking dead. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's ridiculous. And then there's, like, this whole other complicated thing that happens where they're like, okay, if you want to save Jane, meet us in Seattle at a mountain.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if they're like, I don't remember where
first
area
they like
was.
go to this place, and then when he gets close to the place, they're like, actually go all the way up the mountain with us.
No, they're like, actually wear this explodey vest that will explode if you stop walking for more than 30 seconds. And there's this whole, like, supposed to be action drama sequence where he has to get up to the mountain in a certain amount of time, and he can't stop for more than 30 seconds or his vest will explode. And they literally Chadlock. I was trying to say chain and padlock, and my brain went, nope, Chadlock. What is a Chadlock?
It's what happens when it's when you get friend zoned by that bitch that won't go out with you because she's just too busy with Chad. You got Chad locked out.
You get Chad locked. Oh god, that's perfect.
You came up with new incel vocabulary, Paris. Congratulations.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, sweet world. I didn't mean to do that. Oh. Anyway, so there's this whole, like, ridiculous sequence, but of course, like, nothing happens, and he gets to the top. Tank exchanges the $6 million. They get Jane back, and then the story continues, and I was like, okay, so there's no consequence for anyone. I mean, I guess he lost $6 million, but, like, he's so rich, whatever, right? Like, it doesn't really matter. So there's no consequence. No one was ever really in danger. And then I don't know. There's like they all go to a MMA fight. I think it's an MMA fight anyway.
Yep. And then there was this guy that kept popping up throughout the book trying to get a job or like trying to arrange a drug trafficking partnership with Damon named Sean. And turns out Sean was involved in the past because Sean was the man that killed OG Damon. What a twist! That doesn't matter.
Yeah, so Sean just point blank tells him, like, oh yeah, I'm totally the one who shot your brother. Like, and...
Would you like to sell drugs with me now?
Yeah, and Damon is like... He's like, excuse me one moment, and then goes and cries outside. And I was like, I feel like that's not how someone would react. I feel like
I thought you were the crime alpha, bro.
I feel like a crime lord who finds out after 20 years or 30 years or something, like, that this is the dude that killed his brother, like, you would just pull out your gun and shoot him in the head. Like, there would be no, like, it doesn't matter that you're in a casino. Like, if you're a crime boss, you don't give a fuck. I mean, and then he goes outside and he cries and he's like, I'm living, but I'm not alive. And it's not effective at all. Yeah, and you find out that, like, Sean is also working with the big evil guy who we never actually find the name out of this gentleman. We just know he was the cousin of Greg. So to restate, when Damon and his brother were children, they were fostered by Greg and Macy, who were friends of the family because their mother was, like, struggling to support them. And so Damon's older brother goes and gets Macy knocked up somehow, I guess when he was a teenager. And, you know, her husband Greg finds out about it, hires Sean to kill Damon's older brother. He does that, but then Greg feels so terrible about it that he hangs himself in the garage, and his cousin finds him. And his unnamed cousin is actually this big bad guy who has set up this whole conspiracy thing with, like, Jane, like, sending Jane in to seduce Damon and get hold on the business, and Ricky as well, and or Rick as well, sorry. And he's also the one who is sending Sean in to kind of, like, negotiate. So they're trying to just, like, take Damon's whole crime syndicate down, the D organization. But it seems kind of ridiculous, right? Because, like, Damon isn't the person he was a little kid when all that shit went down. Like, why would this cousin of Greg hold this grudge for 30 years and plan this elaborate scheme? Like, and I know that Damon changed his name to Damon, which was his older brother's name, which makes it confusing. But, like, he did it well after his older brother was obviously already dead. It's not like there's any confusion. It's not like this guy...
Are you sure that maybe in a later book that this character isn't going to be like, oh, I thought you were that Damon, though? Is it unreasonable to think that with the quality of the writing here that could be the way that it goes?
It just doesn't make any sense because...
No way. In no situation would it actually make sense because, it was... Greg killed himself over something that he did.
And also, I presume the shame of having his wife impregnated by ostensibly maybe a teenager that he was sheltering in his own house, who he then had murdered. So all that. But yeah, I don't see why the cousin wants to blame, Damon because he was like a little kid at the time. I don't understand that whole thing. I mean, like you said, I guess they could introduce the concept that there was confusion, but like
that's lame. That
dumb. Doesn't make any sense. Like because
not compelling.
It's obvious that the older brother Damon died. Like it's very obvious. The hit was successful. They go into so like I don't see how there could be any confusion. I know we said there weren't any plot holes, but there is that huge one.
Oh no, that would be impossible because he would have sent Sean in knowing that Sean killed his brother originally.
Right.
So the big bad guy wouldn't not know that if he sent him in specifically for that.
Right. So I don't...
So it just makes no sense then.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe like through coincidence, Greg's cousin who found him, who is actually the big evil bad guy, maybe he like... It seems like he also kind of came up through the criminal underworld. So maybe... he's just like, oh, I want to take over this other guy, and I coincidentally have some connection to him, but like it's not It's not motivated by any revenge. It's just like, we're crime guys doing some crime fights.
I know how to fuck with you even worse, I guess.
Right, I guess. And so after all that, the book ends with Damon and Jane going off to one of his many properties. It's like this beautiful glass mountain house in Seattle or something.
Yep, something like that.
And they run in the rain and they're all wet and they're gonna have this beautiful lovemaking session, but I don't know, Damon like starts thinking about it and is like, why wasn't she more traumatized when she was undressing? She's a traitor. And I was like, what? Excuse me?
It's a really weird way to come around to that. It's like he's like, oh, she should have been more like you said, more traumatized by the whole thing while she was undressing because she might have been attacked before, and obviously if that happened then she wouldn't want to remove her clothes without crying.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So obviously he thinks Jane's kidnapping was real, and even though he talked to her about it and he was like, did they hurt you? And she was like, no, not really, they just kind of smacked me around. He was like, okay. So like, we've already established that she was not sexually assaulted, and
he also knows her to be kind of a badass bitch too, on top of that.
Right. So like, she's built up as this like hard, calculating woman who, you know, was maybe just tied to a chair and smacked around a little bit. So like, it's also, that also doesn't make any sense. Like how he makes the connection that she's somehow she's a traitor. There's no, it doesn't make sense. Like,
it's because she doesn't act womanly enough.
But
it's like she doesn't fit into the gender role stereotype that this writer has about how women like approach dealing with kidnappings like that.
Yeah, it's like, of course they can only get over it by wanting to, I don't know, crawl into your arms forever and cry. And it's like, that's not how everyone experiences trauma. Like, people get over trauma in very, very different ways. And to try to say that, you know, a woman,
you can unravel her scheme against you because she didn't act the right way after a traumatic incident.
But even then, it's like, it doesn't even make sense in that regard, because it's not like she wasn't sexually assaulted. She wasn't made to strip nude and like tortured. She was tied to a chair, fully clothed, and got smacked around a little bit. That's all he knows. So, I mean, unless part of their lovemaking was involving being tied to a chair and getting smacked, like, I could see her having a negative reaction to that if, you know, given the supposed circumstances of this kidnapping. But like saying, oh, she got undressed in front of me and didn't have a problem with it, she's a traitor. Like, what? That fucking made no goddamn sense.
Really jumped to that conclusion.
So he makes this judgment and tries to attack her while she's sleeping with like a fire poker or something. And that's where the book ends, because, you know, of course, it has to end on a cliffhanger because he really wants you to buy the next book. And then the end of the book, much like the beginning, is him just jerking himself off and talking about how you gotta buy his next book. Oh my god, it's on sale right now. Fucking look at these early bird reviews. And he says, click here. Click here to get your premium book juice.
Just a perfect way to end it, really, honestly. That's what we sling here at Terrible Book Club is premium distilled book juice.
Click here for more
freshly squeezed right from the pulpy pages directly into your glass before you. Premium 100% book juice.
Oh my god, that would taste so gross. Imagine drinking book juice.
No, I don't want to.
It would just be like distilled wood pulp. It would taste horrible.
Bark. Delicious.
Oh, you know what? I love a cold glass of Splinters in the morning.
Right after I have my nice dusty talcum powder fuck, I have a tall glass of book juice. Just can't get enough of that particulate in my life, really.
Oh my god. Yeah, and also, so the click here for more premium book juice is the final line in this whole fucking shebang. But right before that, so after the scene ends, and, you know, Jane and Simon's about to, like, attack her with a hot fireflies poker. he goes on this little, this rant about how great his next book is, and he's like, you know what? Let's meet Audrea, the person that you met for like 5 sentences in this book. Is she the most dangerous and complex female character to ever walk across the pages of an ebook reader?
No, she's not. Absolutely not, dude.
And he's like, you know what? Well, we've asked Audrea here today, our newest female bombshell, to introduce herself. And there's this whole section. Hi, I'm Audrea from Spokane, Washington. Simon H. has given me the title of probably one of the most dangerous and complex female characters to ever cross the pages of an ebook reader. But
you don't say.
and this enthralling series will help you decide. I usually don't like to divulge stories about my past, but feel in order for you to understand my future actions, I may need to share a bygone action. I'm not sure why I'd want to allocate additional time to a living nightmare that haunts my soul day after day and took away the man I loved, but I'll take this treacherous journey down memory lane as long as you hold my hand.
Okay, all right.
Wow. Fuck.
Why would you make this choice?
Yeah, I don't understand all of these choices. It's quite confusing.
Well, I mean, we could like spend hours just reading random sections here, but this is already a pretty lengthy episode, I would say, Paris. So do you have any final?
I mean, first, so the verdict is fuck this book. Don't fucking read it.
Absolutely.
Don't read this book. It's not worth your time. In fact, I would say in the 3 or 4 hours you would take to read this book, I would recommend you actually walk, drive, take public transit to your nearest theater and watch John Wick 3, because that is a way better use of the 3 or 4 hours it'll take to go there, watch the film, and come home. Because that is a very dumb, fun time about a bunch of crime folks. I love the John Wick movies. I saw it a few weeks ago. So see John Wick 3 instead of reading any of the Black Caviar books. That is my recommendation.
This podcast is sponsored by Keanu Reeves.
Dude, I mean, Keanu Reeves. I love me some Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, he's good shit, man.
Oh, man. Yeah. He's pretty fucking great. Anyway, that's my verdict. How about you, Chris?
Oh, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but there's don't waste your time. Absolutely don't waste your time. I felt like I wasted way too much of my own time, and I do this podcast for fun, technically.
Yeah, it's interesting that we say that we do this for fun. I feel like we need to, like, change that that description.
I'll have a think about it after this one, because this was... You're right that, like, the bones of the plot could have been, like, a mediocre TV show or whatever, but just the way everything is put is corny to an unforgivable degree. And just, it's I can't say anything more. Adam.
No.
We've elucidated it all at this point.
No, I think that I would say that doing the show is a hobby, but I don't know.
That counts. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I mean that's it for the book. I was actually hoping to talk a little bit about the adventures of Chris lately.
I've been having a rough weekend did I talk about tour already?
No, that's why I wanted to talk about. So Chris recently went on a small tour with his band, and I figured it would be fun for him to talk about it because he was telling me some of the stories, and I was like, these are fucking ridiculous. You should really talk about them on the show. So I guess if you don't give a shit about this, just whatever, skip ahead to the very end. But I thought it was fun.
Yeah, let's do Chris's story time a little bit. I went on 2 little traveling excursions recently. One was I took Graveborn out on tour. Or we took ourselves out on tour. I shouldn't put it that way. From basically, it was a little hop around sort of the northeast area. I went to Manchester, New Hampshire, Brooklyn, New York, Ardmore, Philadelphia, which is just outside, Ardmore, Pennsylvania, which is just outside Philadelphia, and then back to Long Island, New York for a final show before coming all the way back over here. We went with our friends in My Missing Half, also a fairly, pretty awesome, actually, melodic death metal kind of style band. If you like yourself some At the Gates or In Flames, or you might dig them a little bit. So it was a whole adventure. It was one of those things where, like, planning it and, like, all the logistics I fucking hated, but, like, in the moments it was fun hanging out with my friends in Graveborn and getting to know My Missing Half a little bit better and hanging out with them. So I'll just do a little...
How about you tell them about the curse of the tour?
Okay, so The first night in Manchester was pretty unremarkable. It went off fine, except for the sound lady being kind of late and also kind of acerbic at us. She was just having a bad night, it seemed like, and that made the show run later than it should have. But the day after that, we all get in the van to go head over to Brooklyn, New York, where we played the Lucky 13 Saloon, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty cool metal bar. Fair warning, there are lady dancers there, if that's not your thing. They're not topless or nude or anything, but they do display a pretty incredible pole dancing skills. The poles are on the bar, so not only do they have to do the dance on the bar, they have to avoid kicking patrons in the face as they do it, which was all the more impressive. I had to run the door because the show part of the venue was just kind of like in the back, and I would be like running like the one entrance to that area where the show was taking place, taking people's money, stamping their hands or whatever. And in front of me were the ladies dancing in the bar, so pretty much I was facing them the whole time, which led to me kind of like awkwardly tipping them at the before I had to go on for my set. I had to like run over to them. They were like taking a break. I was like, "Hey, ladies, you're very talented." And I feel like a little awkward that I didn't wasn't able to tip you or anything because I was just kind of staring. I didn't put it this way, but it was essentially like what I did not make that much of a fool of myself.
Good.
But I felt like that when I walked up to them to be like, "Hey, ladies, you're very talented, good work," or what. I forget exactly what I said. I handed them like $30 because they worked hard that night pretty much, and I had made a good amount off the door. I was able to pay the rest of the bands as well off of that night. But before we even loaded in, my missing half rolled up with their van, and they couldn't get their back door open in their van to unload their gear because a pedal board had fallen to like the latching mechanism in such a way as to jam it completely.
Guys.
Now, they also have
this is bungee cords. Jesus Christ.
There was like a grate behind where they sat in the van, separating them from the equipment in case, your fucking van rolls and you don't have like a cabinet taken off your head or whatever. But it was like screwed in and bolted in. So two of my bandmates had to go in with like Allen wrenches and like pliers and like sort of loosen one corner of it and then yank the metal back so that the thinnest member of the band, Nick Petrino, also a guitarist for D. Snyder, by the way, currently on tour with D. Snyder after our tour, he had to crawl in through the back and like unlatch the pedal board from like the back of the van so they could get the van open to unload the gear into the venue.
Okay, so after this point, please tell me they discovered that bungee cords are a thing and they fucking strapped down that pedal board or put it somewhere else.
Oh no, because the next night we're playing in Ardmore, Philadelphia at the Rusty Nail. Beforehand, we actually there was like a parking lot at a train station that we could all park in. Like they didn't have any it doesn't cost anything to park. You just fucking sit the thing wherever you want or whatever. And so we kind of set the vans over there. Grave Warren and I went to like another like dive bar down the street called McSorry's. I had some $6 mozzarella sticks. They were fine. And to pass the time, we went into like a bowling alley / arcade where we played. It was like full of children and families, and like these two metal bands just walking in, and we decided to like play a little mini air hockey tournament that got the interest of these two little kids that were nearby. So they started like playing us. There was like an older brother and a little brother. The older brother eventually kind of won out against a good portion of us, and then his little brother took a turn against me. It was like the first time both of us played, and this little kid fucking destroyed me.
Yeah,
like
sure.
9-2 on an air hockey table. I wasn't gonna be like, "Oh, I'm blind, whatever, kid. It doesn't matter." But like when the kid won, I heard his whole entire family burst into applause as if he just graduated college for like schooling me on the air hockey table.
I mean, it's Ardmore, Pennsylvania.
And then I played a show at the Rusty Nail, and I slept on the floor of the vocalist of the headlining band, Dark Water's End. Very extremely good metal band that you should check out. And John was kind enough to let me sleep on the floor of an apartment that he was still paying the rent on, but had moved out from a week prior. So I got to experience floor sleep, which wasn't that bad.
No, however, floor sleep is fine as long as you like.
Before we loaded into that show, I was walking up to where the vans were parked with my missing half and Graveborn hanging around to find out that previously their bass player had like went to a store to buy deodorant and like stuffed his bag with it and then like thrown the bag in the back with the gear. Guess what happened with that bag? It once again fell back and got caught in the latching mechanism of the van door. So they had to. They just called him up and they were like, "Alex, just come to the van. It's an emergency." And as he's like walking up, he's like, "What's going on?" And then Nick tosses him the keys and he's like, open the van. And he goes, oh, fuck. And then, like, when he, like, starts opening the van, he's like, all right, Nick, you're up again. And Nick's like, wait, no, what? He's like, then Alex goes, you think I'm going to fucking fit back there? So really, he played himself. And then the next night, we went to Long Island. And Long Island is full of characters, let me tell you.
Oh, this is my favorite story.
There are people there, like, basically, it seems like Long Island is kind of desperate for a music scene or shows. We pull up to this place called Ram's American Pub that's, like, under, like, or nearby an airport or something. So there's, like, low-flying planes going over the venue most of the night.
It sounds like the place in Revere. It sounds like Sammy's Patio here.
A little bit, kind of.
The airport, yeah.
Reasonable comparison. And we went to, like, an Outback Steakhouse down like across the street because, I don't know, I guess we just wanted, like, a better selection of booze.
Yo, you're having a fancy-ass tour, fucking eating mozzarella sticks, eating at Outback.
Oh, dude, we ate at the Skylark Diner the morning before we drove to Philly, which was, like, literally $130 food bill. We had ordered a feast of breakfast. I had a very nice lemonade that was, like, freshly squeezed and had, like, fresh strawberry and blueberry muddled into it, so every sip you took had a little bit of strawberry or blueberry in it.
Yeah.
It was quite delicious. I also had a Basque breakfast sandwich, which was like a sort of Spanish-style breakfast sandwich with like Spanish peppers and stuff, which was delicious.
I'm pretty sure they would be very offended that you called them Spanish-style and Spanish peppers. It is Basque-style.
I'm giving the most... Yes.
They're separatists.
Well, you know, doing my best here. Anyhow... we're back to Long Island, actually, where it seems like they really want some shows out there. It was a 6-band bill. The first band was a lady that called herself Secret Ion, and she played like...
Was she in the Netflix blockbuster series, The OA?
No, she wasn't. But she did have like... She came up to me after her set and like explained that, oh, Secret Ion is about like how we're all changing all the time. You're your own secret ion. And she was a very earnest lady.
Oh, boy.
Very all about her art. And she did have a great voice. She did sing really well, and she played guitar pretty well too. Her guitar sound was just like an SG through an old Fender amp with some distortion on it. Sounded fine. Her bass player and her drummer, though, which she explains that she kind of has a collective of people that she hires for certain shows, really phoned it in on her, I have to say. It almost would have been better if it was just her singing and playing guitar, I feel like. And, you know, she seemed like she really wanted to make some pals. But I was, like, kind of a little drunk from a Tito's and lemonade I had at the Outback Steakhouse. So I was a little bit sort of, like, giving her, like, the okay thing when she talked to me, which I think made her embarrassed and had her scurry off, and she, like, left the show after that. The band after that was Holy Vulture, and they were just, like, a hard/southern rock trio. Very good guitar player, very good bass player, but the drummer was this amazing blonde lady who fucking killed it on her performance. She was an amazing drummer to watch the whole time. In fact, like my drummer, who was filling in for us at the time, because our real drummer like hurt his back before the tour.
That was the curse of the tour I was speaking of.
Yeah, he like bum rushed this lady after her set and was like, "Oh my god, you're so good! Oh, that was so amazing!" And she seemed very flattered by it the whole time. But it was pretty impressive to see like this amazing death metal drummer just run up to this lady for her amazing performance skills. But again, kind of like a weird thing because then Graveborn came on. We're third and we're straight up death metal. So I feel like we like ruined everyone's night that was there not expecting metal. There were a couple of like stray metal fans that showed up just because they heard a metal show was happening though. Seems like Long Island is like a sort of a mildly untapped market because even other metal bands we know from Long Island, when we told them like, hey, we're playing the show out there, they were like, there's shows out here? Excuse me? So there might be, I don't know. It's another character that I met was this guy that I guess lived next to or above the bar because he kept disappearing into a door with like his metal cup that just was refilled with booze every time he appeared from out of the door. And the best way I can describe this dude is a perfect fusion of John Redcorn and Boomhauer from King of the Hill. It was like an absolutely perfect fusion of those two people.
Oh my God.
That's the only way I could describe like talking to this dude.
Didn't he buy like a shit ton of merch from you guys too?
He was decked out in great. He had the hat on. He had a shirt around. Like we gave him a free CD and shit. But the dude was excited and like great. He spent like $40. He tried to spend more. He like forgot he paid because he was so fucking plastered. I guess.
Oh wow.
But Jesse like refused the money. My guitar player refused the extra money. He's like, no, you already paid, dude. Meanwhile, the guitarist from My Missing Half was like, dude, I would have taken the money. I'm going to be eating good tonight.
Yeah, I mean, y'all are fucking going to restaurants on tour. Jeez. Fancy boys.
Graveborn treated it as like a money sink / vacation. We did not look to make profit on it. We made money during the shows, but it was basically enough for gas money.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, the curse of your broken drummer, like getting a drummer last minute to fill in, and then like just all the nonsense. I mean, it was it sounds like a fun time.
It was indeed an adventure. And then I also went to Portland, Maine for a few days with my lady friend Rebecca after. That was quite nice. They have a lot of good food in Portland, Maine. I would recommend Central Provisions if you're looking to blow some money on small plates, because they make some pretty wild stuff, like a spicy beef salad, a bone marrow toast. They had this asparagus salad that was like my favorite salad I've ever eaten in my entire life.
Wow. That's a ringing endorsement from you. You're not really a salad guy.
I'm getting more and more into veggies, and this was like a really major helper for it. There was Psymon Miyake, which was like a pretty good ramen restaurant over there that was really good. Duck Fat served me an amazing Cubano sandwich and served my girlfriend like this duck and greens salad that was like really tasty too.
All right.
There's a lot of good food in Portland. It's a little pricey. It's like you're spending minimally $15 an entree, but it was really good stuff. And now I'm very sick after that trip because I went on a little hike on an island that was like reachable by car, and I think just all the exposure to like all the pollen and forest stuff, which I don't usually get out into ever, kind of fucked up my respiratory system. And now here I am all sniffly and whatnot because of that. I got to build a little fairy house in the woods though.
What? Cool.
Okay, so on this island, there's like a fairy village, which is basically like a bunch of like little houses made up of like twigs, leaves, and moss and shit, leaned up against trees or whatever. And like you go out to the island and you make your little fairy houses to like expand the fairy village and whatnot. There were a lot of cool things, and me and Rebecca and I made a tiny little fairy house.
Very nice. What's it going for in the market? What's the market like?
Fairy rent is looking pretty steeper. You know, the area is getting a little more gentrified, more people moving in. We did see something that looked like fairy condos because it was like very elaborate and like square. So, you know, maybe the rent's going to go up after that. But, you know, hopefully the slug that was nearby moved in and, you know, had a nice place to live.
So it's fucking, you know what? I blame the fucking gnomes. It's the gnomification of this island.
There were some larger houses that could possibly be gnome-sized that were not fairy-sized.
Telling you, so that's what it is. That's the problem, man.
You could perhaps be right about that.
Well.
Also, final thing. Fuck Red Sox fans. They're rude. They were rude to me when I was coming home from work the other day.
Oh, God.
The Green Line train stopped at Fenway, and I had to try to find a shuttle to take to Kenmore, which is just one stop away. But I couldn't find the shuttle because the track workers were rude when I tried to ask, because everyone was asking them where the fucking shuttles were, and they would just point in a general direction and go like over there, which is like uncrossable because there's fucking train tracks in the way. So I had to make my way through like Kenmore Square, blinded by sunlight in a crowd of like drunk Red Sox fans who would like shove me aside as I tried to like get my bearings on my GPS in the sunlight, which is pretty impossible for me to do. And then when I was like trying to even get on the Green Line on the way home, Park Street is like the hub station where you can change from the green to the red line. And people would just crowd the door. People didn't move away from the fucking door to the point I had to go like, hey, I'm trying to get through, buddy, to some guy. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, motherfucker. So then I literally had to like shove people aside with I crowd killed my way off this fucking train.
That sucks. I mean, yeah, this is why I'm glad I never have to take the Green Line ever, because
fuck drunk sports fans. I'm sorry. I get you're having a fun time, but fuck them.
I mean, this sounds like some version of hell.
Meanwhile, the Pride Parade was also happening at the same time and letting out at the same time as the game. And when I got on the red line, it was full of Pride folk, and guess who was super nice and courteous to me?
The Pride folk.
Yes.
Yeah,
wow.
No shit.
All right, that's
dude.
My fucking Chris story time.
Yeah, Chris story time. Very, very rich and varied story time this week. I feel like I don't really have story time. I did just want to say a happy belated birthday to my friend Amber, because she was supposed to have a get-together, but a bunch of things went wrong. Factors were against us. So in lieu of that, just wanted to say happy birthday on the show, because I know she listens and enjoys it. So happy birthday, Amber.
Happy birthday, Amber.
Yeah, so this brings us to the end.
You got to do the show closing now.
Yeah. So thank you to Preston for making us aware of this book. We hope to have you either on a regular episode of the show or on a Patreon special at some point. We tried to make it happen today, but he lives in another time zone. We just two people meeting each other in a Facebook group. It's kind of hard to make that work. So we'll see for the future. Of course, thank you to our Patreon supporters. You folks are the best, and you make my mouth fail.
That's what a wonderful song lyric.
Yeah, you make my mouth fail. Well, it's better than bubblegum toes.
Bubblegum toes? What the fuck?
Oh, I thought that was the lyric you hated from that song.
Dude, bubblegum tongue. Bubblegum toes. What the? Ew. Gross. I hate Your Body is a Wonderland by John Mayer because of that cringe ass and your bubblegum tongue line. I fucking hate it.
I never knew that was what it was.
You thought it was bubblegum toes? You think they let that get away on like a top 40 like radio?
I don't know. I can't understand. I don't pay attention to songs like that.
Disgusting, Paris.
Okay, well, thank you.
Let's thank our patrons for making these moments possible.
Thanks for making bubblegum toes possible, everybody. Oh,
thank you, Dan. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Will.
You just said Dan. We don't have
I'm sorry. My eyes.
This. Okay. Thank you. Oh, thank you to Dari, Greg.
Dari, I'm sorry.
Will, Veronica, D, Jared, Lynn, Sitna, Jakob, Torben, a.k.a. Duck King, and Bobby Blackcat. Thank you to all of you. Not to Dan. We don't have a supporter named Dan. You know what?
I'm
Actually,
sorry,
if your name is Dan, just go sign up for the Patreon right now.
Yeah, make this not a mistake for me, please. I'm sorry, Dari. My eyes are bad, and when I was looking at the text from, what most people would be able to see from your name looked like Dan.
It's fine. If you want to help support the show, you can add your name to this illustrious list by heading over to patreon.com/join/terriblebookclub. You can become a patron there. At the $5 a month level or higher, you can enjoy special video segments, which is mostly just Chris and I doing Mystery Science Theater 3000. Right now, we're actually watching the second season of The OA on Netflix, but usually we do stuff related to books we've read for the show. So we've watched like the Left Behind movie, we've watched Maradonia. There's a whole shit ton of content on there for the low price of $5 a month or more. You can also do us a favor and give us a review on some kind of platform, whether it's iTunes or something else. It doesn't matter. You can also download the Radio Public app, which is a podcast listening app, and listen to us on there. Whenever you listen to us on there, you help passively generate income for the show. We get like 2 cents a play and an extra $1 bonus if you listen to 3 episodes in a row. So you know what? Honestly, even if you want to download the app and then just play the whole catalog and like leave your phone somewhere and like go do something else, that'd be great. We also really appreciate when people say hi. So if you want to say hi, ask us a question, give us some comments, please do. You can reach us. You can reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, Facebook. You can also send emails to us at terriblebookclub@gmail.com. I'm sure there's some other service through which you can contact us, but I can't remember anymore at this point in time.
Nope, that's most of the avenues there, if not all of them.
Oh boy, yeah. So we got one more book for June, and then July is going to be a special month here at Terrible Book Club.
Very, very special month indeed, Paris. Yep. I don't know if I'm ready for it.
I don't know. I don't know if I am either. But thanks for joining us. Sorry, this was a long one.
Double-sized for your listening eyes, which are ears.
There's something wrong with both of us for this recording. Like, we're both coughing and fucking stuffy.
I'm sick and like sweaty, and like I'm just sitting here like in a pool of like thick sweat. I have to take a shower.
Gross.
Yeah,
I should maybe cut that.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I'll see you next time, Chris.
Bye, Paris.
Bye. every dick like the one before. There goes the dealer with his drugs like always. The same old crack and heroin to sell. Dick as big as mine. Fits just right inside. Barely even friends. Then somebody dies. Unexpectedly. No one's dick's like Damon's. No one's quick like Damon. No one's neck as incredibly thick as Damon. Who shoots meth like Damon? Who